Well, g'day, podcast listeners from all around the world. We have a very special guest in our number 2 episode. Yes, we've got to number 2 already. Our guest today, legendary man, born and bred, well, not necessarily born, but definitely bred on our beautiful Sunshine Coast beaches here in Queensland, Australia. He surfed his way to an incredible career. And yes, should I tell you? If I said you can't rock and roll, you can't fucking come, would you guess? Maybe Quicksilver. What about Burning Spears? What about Triple Crown winner, the first, Howley? Definitely Howley. Outside of Hawaii, taking a Triple Crown, Pipeline Master. Yeah, it's Kong, if you haven't guessed it. Gary Elkerton, our special guest here on the Weekend Waves.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to the Weekend Waves with Spinksy. Today's episode, we have a very special guest, an Australian surfer who has many accolades under his belt, bursting onto the 1980 surfing scene, claiming an Australian amateur title in 1984, a 2-time winner of the Hawaiian Triple Crown, a Pipeline Master, 3-time runner-up on the World Tour, and also a 3-time World Masters surfing champion, and was inducted into the Australian Surfing Hall of Fame in 2009. He's regarded as an iconic big wave surfer, highly respected by his peers for his unique, powerful surfing style. And to many, he's known as Kong around the world to his fellow surfers and mates. And today, my guest is Gary Elkerton. Okay, Gary, how you going, mate?
Spinksy, how you going, buddy?
Really good. So you're back here on the coast, catching up with family and friends over the Chrissy holidays?
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's been awesome. You're back on the coast, catching up with everyone. Haven't been in the water too much, but yeah, it's been great.
Okay, yeah. So you travelled from overseas to get here, I hear?
Yeah, look, we've been living in Bali for the last year and a half, and that's going really well. We live at Nusa Dua, and we have a beautiful place there, and quite a radical wave in the front yard to deal with.
Yes. Mm. It's even been compared to the famous Sunset Beach. Yeah, big novel wave on a
Hits
state.
your ass just like it too.
We know it. Yeah. Going up here on the coast surfing, you actually weren't even born here. You were born in New South Wales, just like myself. So tell us a little bit of that experience growing up on the coast and how you actually got into the surfing.
Well, I was born in Ballina, but at the time, my parents, father particular, well, all of us, the whole family, he was travelling to the Gulf of Carpentaria every year to do the banana prawn season. So every year would come past here in the boat, and coming back down, we'd always stop in here at Mooloolaba, and we're talking the 60s. I think I was 1-2 years old. And I think around 1969-70, Dad had already had some pretty bad crossings at the Tweed Bar, at the Evans Head Bar, at the Ballina Bar. He'd lost a few boats, and on the way back one year, I think it was 1970 or 71, we pulled in here and made it home because of the way the bar is structured here at Mooloolaba. It faces northwest-west, so it's completely out of the swell window. So yeah, it all started in the sort of mid 70s. Moved here and what a lovely place it was.
Yeah. So what made you want to actually surf? Did you?
I wasn't really into surfing. I was into motorbikes at the time, and then I got a surfboard, and I just started surfing at Mooloolaba because we're living in the caravan park there before Fridays and all that was down there, and obviously it was a foamy, and then it went to a Jim Pollard. I did try surfing the year before at Evans Head, but it didn't really work out. And I ran into some friends that I still have today, like Stephen Watts and Peter Sutherland, and we go back that far, and we just started surfing, and then all of a sudden I walked. We actually moved from that caravan park into what they call the Cove Caravan Park, or some people call it Kong's Cove. And I used to just surf there on my own. I didn't even know there was Alex around the corner. And then one day I walked over the top of the hill and found Alex and the Bluff, and then met all my other friends, Robert Mackey and Barney Smalley. The list goes on. Yeah. And then I got inducted into North Shore Board Riders. And that's when it really changed for me. I just, it was quite different back then, because I think we were doing surfing for not the same reasons people are doing it for now. It was really a lot of fun going to the club rounds. It wasn't serious. It was just fantastic times. Yeah.
But yeah, coming from the club and then grabbing that Australian Amateur Championship in 84.
Well, in 84, I think it was 84, first of all, they used to have Sunshine Coast titles, right? And you'd have to qualify for the Queensland titles. So I think one year I was in the cadets, and I won the cadets. I got third in the cadets. And then for the next 2 years, I had to move to the juniors, and I surfed in the juniors and opens, and I won the junior and open back to back. And then there was 4 Queensland titles, and then it was an Australian title. And then inside that, we had one major junior event called the Pro Junior at Narrabeen, and I won that in 82. And from there, it just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
It was on.
Then you got onto the tour, ASP, as it was known back then?
Yeah, well, what happened in 82 is that we had to qualify in the Australian titles to compete in the world titles, and they were on the Gold Coast in 1982. And I'd won all the amateur events in Australia except for the Parbendal, which I still haven't got. But I was in Sydney qualifying the Australian titles, and I got hit in the leg twice by my board and had to get stitches at the same time, and I couldn't walk, so I couldn't qualify for the World Championships on the Gold Coast, which is where I wanted to win that and then take off right on the Pro Tour. So I waited to 84, and then went to America for that. Didn't work out that well. I got third, and went straight to France and turned professional. Yeah.
Right. And then from on there, the tour, they weren't selected 10 comps a year. They were like 20, 25, 30 comps maybe.
We had 32 events.
Wow.
And it was completely different back then. You'd show up at an event, you'd had to put your name down. There was 130 trialists, and you had and there was the top 16, Rabbit and MR, and you had to surf, those 130 people had to surf off to make the 16 to make the cut. And that happened at every event. And my first year on tour, I finished 8th in the world.
Wow.
Incredible. Yeah.
Rivalries.
Everyone. Well, it was just different back then. It's there wasn't much money in it. So, it's funny how we're all friends now, but back then we had to kind of, you had to do stuff that wasn't nice to your mates in the water. And look, Curran, the list goes on. I didn't travel with anyone. I couldn't. I always had to travel solo. And, I think it was maybe 18 years on the tour.
Yeah, you spent a lot of time in Hawaii, particularly surfing a sunset where you claimed to, as mentioned earlier, 2 Triple Crowns. In fact, I think the first outside Hawaiian to win a Triple Crown.
Yeah, well, I did have another big move before that. So I moved when I first went to France for my first professional event, I just fell in love with the place. And I spent 27 years there, living there and doing the tour from that side. At that point, Quicksilver was just getting structured in Europe, and it kind of worked well for them, and it worked really well for me. And And I think that helped a lot in Hawaii because they have such large surf in Europe. But our winter trips to Hawaii were, like 4 months. We weren't just flying in and doing the Pipe Masters and flying out. We had, we had 3 events that counted for the world title. And, you really had to spend time there to if you wanted to get good results, especially at sunset, and even though, it's changed a lot now, but I truly believe that the Triple Crown of having 3 events rated for the world title are true Triple Crowns. It's a lot different now.
Yeah, so going on that with the format now with the World Surf League, so you like the format that it is, and then with that last 5 battling out for the world title?
I think it's all back to front and it's wrong. I think they've got the whole thing completely wrong and they've stuffed it up. It's too much money getting spent to do the tour and then having the cut at the end and doing the whole year. You could have a guy that's in number 8 that could win the world title if it went down to the wire. Look, my belief about this, there's not as much money as there was in the sport, the surfing, as there was in the Mick Fanning era, right? All their contracts have dropped completely. My belief is that every country should have 10 qualifying events. For example, Australia has 10 qualifying events, only for Australians. So our kids don't have to travel overseas to compete, to qualify. Out of those 10 events, you take the top 5 from each country, Brazil, America, Africa, Europe, and you throw them in together, and then you work out a tour. I would go something like, I would spend at least 3 events in the Mentawais on boats, and then, drop down to, you've got to keep Bells and maybe Snapper, Fiji, J-Bay, Chopu, and then you've got to, I think all the waves that aren't up to world standard should not be on the tour. Formula One drivers don't go and drive on a shitty track, right? They've all got great conditions, golfers, tennis players. So surfing a place like Trestles doesn't get me. And having 3 events in Hawaii that are rated for a true Triple Crown and finishing off at Pipeline would be the best way and cheapest way for it all to unfold. Just my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
People have got, other ideas, but I'm just trying to save money for our local kids, right? Because they've got to come up with, so much money to do this qualifying tour. And then when you've done the qualifying tour and then you're on the championship, you're still going to do this qualifying tour. So you're doing 2 tours. Like, it is outrageous how much money that is. And then when you finally get into the championship tour and you finish number 7, you don't get a shot at the title. Yeah, so it really doesn't make sense for me.
Yeah, with the likes of our local talent, obviously Sophie McCulloch and Isabel Nichols being on the women's tour, and up-and-coming fantastic surfers, all locals here on the Sunshine Coast, Alistair Reginato.
Absolutely.
And that point that you said, the amount of money just to do all that, it's insane.
It's outrageous. It's sad, and I don't think the WSL is... I don't think they want to make the right changes, I think it's a very unfair tour right now.
Well, at the end of this, or next year's tour, their final 5 will be held in Cloudbreak.
Yeah.
So they've jumped out of Trestles.
Yeah.
And
but that still is that you imagine that wave, the top 5. You imagine if it's noisy birds in Australia, right?
Yeah.
Throw a rock at that thing. So for example, you got 5 guys, Cloudbreak's 15 to 18 feet. I reckon there's going to be a few guys in that top 5 that don't want to know about that, right? And there's a guy that's probably number 10 or 11th that could take it out. And there's the unfair again, it's just it doesn't add up for me, what they're doing.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
They've added more girls to the tour this year as well, which is a fantastic thing because the girls are actually blitzing. I prefer to watch them right now.
Women's surfing is amazing right now. It is absolutely amazing. The level of surfing that's going on there is crazy. I think, yeah, it has. It seems that the men's are kind of a bit strange, but the women have got, and all different levels and ages.
Living in Indonesia, a lot of Indonesian surfers, particularly Rio, getting on the tour. Have you ever considered doing, as you have before, a coaching role, maybe?
No, it's only because, well, first of all, is that, as you can just heard, I'm not a big fan of what's going on right now. And I think somewhere the coaching roles are good. It depends what level it's at, how much involvement's involved in it. But no, it's not into the coaching thing.
So you'd be more inclined just to, advice for the young, particularly on the sunny coast, being with North Shore, going to those, the board battles like at Newcastle.
Yeah, I've done that a couple of times. I did the one on the Gold Coast and the team won. And it's all about keeping the vibe, right? Look, the surfing, the bottom line with competing with surfing, look, you're going to have you do your training, you've got your diet, but you really got to get the right headspace. And if you're in the right headspace and you're happy and you've got no worries going on, it could be family, it could be a car, it could be anything. You've got to have it all. It's all got to be right. And I believe, any surfer, when they're in the right position and they're happy, they're winners.
Yeah, sure. Now, you've recently turned 60, and funny enough, we actually share the same birth date, not year. A bit younger than you. Now, over the years, you've also suffered some niggling injuries, including hip replacement. How's that affected your surfing, and what are you surfing now?
Well, I've had a lot of injuries. When I was in France, I got right back into riding dirt bikes, and I had a couple of big accidents. One in particular, that I broke both scaphoids, 4 ribs, ACL, punctured lung, broken ankle. That was one crash. So I've done a lot to my body. Look, not just surfing, motocross. I started snowboarding. I was probably the first professional surfer ever to snowboard, and that was around 1985. I think I started, and I did 20 years of that, and I had some big crashes in that. And that's the other side too. They used to have the Quicksilver winter surf. First started in America with the OP surf and snowboard, and that was bank slalom, and I won that 2 years in a row. And then I won 2 quick cups in France. So the body's taken a big toll, and the first thing I got done 2 years ago was my hip, and it's good, but it's not like it was. And then I've got a pretty dodgy ankle on the same, hit my back leg. Think something happened in the operation, but it's just not right. And then the left knee needs replacing. So I've got a few injuries. Yeah.
But you are still surfing?
Yeah, I am still surfing. I never stopped paddling. I got bigger boards to just make it a bit easier on the get up, because my legs are just not the same popping up to my feet. And then recently I started stand-up paddleboarding, which has been a blessing. Yeah. It's really helping my legs a lot. And I'm already standing up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Out at Nusa Dua?
At Nusa Dua. I'm in the water nearly every day. We're just like 2 minutes from the beach. And amazing place to learn to stand up in the lagoon over shallow reef with turtles and sharks, and and then slowly moving out to the point.
Yeah.
There's a few other guys out there on SUPs as well.
Yeah, a lot of the local crew, the expats there, they're all on SUPs because of just, it's really a SUP way that Pete lives around a lot. It's a long way out in the ocean, right? We're the only crew that I've seen that paddle out there. All the other guys come out and they get in a boat and they go out there with 5-10 surfboards and they go straight in. It's just way out of their league. It's a truly heavy wave. You know, I saw it 15 to 20 foot the other day and break. I didn't go out and I was watching it and I just could not believe the sound it was making going down the reef. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Experienced drowning there myself. It's pretty powerful. Yeah.
But Indonesia's been beautiful. Look, I've been going there for a long, long time. And I've seen all the change. I think the first year I went there was 81, 80. I can't quite remember, but as we all know, it's really, really changed. And that's one of the reasons we picked to live on Nusa Dua side. And it's lovely, that side of the island. The east coast of Bali is beautiful. Yeah. The west coast is really kind of built out now.
We interrupt this podcast with a very special mention from our friends and sponsors at Volcom. Head to Volcom. Their outlet sale with truckloads of new styles have just been added. You can buy 3 heavily discounted items and get an extra 20% off at checkout. It's very easy to do. All you have to do is head to the website volcom.com.au, hit the sale tab /outlet, get 20% off at checkout just by typing in the special code, which is Good Deal. I mention again, Good Deal, GOODDEAL. Get your extra 20% off at Volcom, covering men's and women's apparel at the Volcom outlet sale. Now let's get back to the podcast. You say you do a lot of surfing and fishing, but you've also branched out, bringing out some Kong merch. The House of Kong. What's all that about?
It's a project that we're starting, and it's just starting to roll out now, but it's going to be a website that's not just about selling merch. It's going to have a lot of other stuff with old videos, videos that people haven't seen. There'll be a podcast that's going to start inside that as well. There's going to be a lot of click-throughs of people that are going to sponsor us. And look, it's just a little thing I'm playing around with because getting a bit bored. And I think it's time, I think it's time to get the Star Trunks back out and have some other stuff, not just all my kind of merch. I mean, look, honestly, it's going to be about the House of Kong, but there's going to be a lot of different stuff in there as well.
You're bringing in any of the other mates from surfing, Rabbit, anything?
No, but obviously podcasting, we'll be doing a bit of that. I'm looking at probably following the tour a little bit with it, and about Bali life, what's going on in the Island of the Gods.
Yeah, really good. Now, you did bring out that book quite a few years ago. Is that all sold, or can you reissue and bring it out again?
Well, that is going to get recovered and reissued. So, and there's going to be obviously some more added on because it's been 10 years, maybe.
Yeah.
But that book went amazingly well in Australia. It sold close to 18,000 copies. That's regarded as a bestseller in Australia.
There was talk about it, maybe a movie of some kind from the book.
Yes, there was, and it's still in the pipeline. These sorts of things take a while. I'll probably have to kick the bucket before that will happen, though. But some people in Hollywood were interested in and looking at it.
Yeah. So they'd be getting someone else to play you.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm not going to. I'm not going to drop any names, but they're pretty damn famous people.
Yeah, cool. So you seem to be quite happy and content in life now. Daughter's all grown up.
Daughter's grown up, she's 19, and she's been over to India a few times now. She's doing really well. Yeah, mate, look, I'm just stoked when I look back at everything, like from, starting surfing Mooloolaba and the first few years in North Shore, and just seeing growing up in that era was just unbelievable here on the coast. Like it's never going to be the same again. We're so lucky to see that before all the shit that's here now. It was just so free and just so many, I don't know. I always just feel that the surf was better when I was younger. I don't know if it's just me, but, look, God, Watala. I mean, Jesus, I went there with Jodie Perry, and I don't even know what year it was. It had to be 79. So it had a single fin on it, 1980. But he got called by another guy, Ian Dimon, that lived in Cloundra. There's this place, and it wasn't even called Watala. But there was a piece of blue T-shirt tied to a little tree. And we went down there and we drove through there in Jodie's car. It wasn't even a road. It's just swamp. All that was swamp. We're going through swamp and tea trees, water. Get the back of the sand dune, walked over, and there was Watala. We had Watala for like 7 years before it even got crowded. Just all that whole thing, when I re-look back on it, my life, growing up on the prawn trawler, surfing the Swains and Lady Elliot and all those trips up the Gulf. And then, becoming a professional surfer and being on the world tour and, probably, missing 3 world titles by a smidgen kind of hurt. But winning the Triple Crowns helped, and being the first ever non-Hawaiian to win a Triple Crown was epic. All my accomplishments, winning the 3 World Masters world titles in a row. Yeah, I'm honoured, the life I've had, and the era that I grew up in was fantastic. Yeah.
So the people can go to your new website, thehouseofkong.com.
Yes.
And I, like myself, have purchased some merch for the launch, basically.
Yep.
And they all come over out to your mates here in Australia and go off to give some more further south.
Yeah, look, it's just the start. It's the wheels are in motion now. It's been talked and thought about for a few years now, and I've got some good people in Bali that are backing me to get it done. So, yeah, it's going to be great.
That's epic, mate. So, look, listeners, head to the website, thehouseofkong.com, and stay tuned to that website. Sign up to newsletter for all the upcoming new products and whatever else is going to be running through the House of Kong. Gary, it's been fantastic catching up with you again. You're a great mate, and really look forward to seeing you again. And again, thank you very much for your time, mate.
And remember, listeners, whatever you do, don't drop in.